Today on our July show, there's been a lot going on. You know, there's been the July 4th fireworks and everything. So, I mean, I just stayed home for July 4th. I didn't do nothing. So, you know, but I was going to talk about the video we just shot. Was the first one we're drumming was with me and my uncle and our group, Jonah A singers. Jonah A means the sun is my God in Navajo language. So that's kind of the drum. He drummed with him at the Grand Ron powwow this last weekend, Veterans Powwow. So we always have a good time when we drum. And I videotaped a little bit of the traditional dancing. So, you know, but today I just want to talk about the oil spill that's been going on down in the Gulf, and of course it's a big issue because it's, you know, that's a lot of oil spilling out of there, you know, for the last, you know, say 3 months or so. You know, I mean, it's like, I don't have an exact number, you know, but it's just like something that you can't, you know, put a seal on, you know, really quick or something, and that's what they figured out. It took them that long to seal it, you know, and I guess, you know, a lot of these things happen, you know, because, you know, people either they get greedy or they, you know, but, you know, my uncle Chet Clark, my uncle, we talk about this all the time. We talk about how a lot of these things that are happening on Mother Earth, because we all live on Mother Earth, you know, and so he always talks about how, you know, the fact that, you know, the blood, you know, our blood that runs in our stream that keeps us going, keeps us alive. It's just like the oil of Mother Earth, you know, keeps her going and keeps her, you know, moving. And so that's the thing. Like he was telling me, I had the same idea, same way of thinking. Was he told me that, you know, the oil that's spewing out of Mother Earth, that's like her blood, you know, and now, you know, once like our bodies, if we lose a lot of blood, our body shuts down. You know, our body goes, you know, kind of goes in shock. You know, and so that's what we were talking about it, and I was kind of like, man, you know, that's true. You know, I was thinking about that, how like how if Indian people were connected with Mother Earth and everything that's around us, and how our bodies are, you know, They can't just like have. We got to have blood. We got to have things that are pumping to keep us alive, and that's the same thing. That kind of way I look at it is Mother Earth is. Mother Earth has to have oil, and if the people that keep on sucking out this oil, that are, either want money or they're trying to trade it or whatever, it's not good for for Mother Earth, because she's gonna go off balance, and that's what I think. I mean, people. This is what I think is just like, everything what's going on right now is because we're all off-shifted. The world is off-shifted. And I think that we're going to have a major, let's just say, not a tragedy, but we're going to have something happen to Mother Earth because all this oil spilling out of her. And so now we got to understand that we have a big spill to clean up, and that it's going to cost money, and animals and people that are fishing and crabbing and making their living, it's all gone, because all those fish they're probably dead because of all that oil, and so I guess what I'm saying is that if you want something that bad, or if if it's kind of like greed, when greed you take too much of it, you take too much of something, and then like this oil spill, it kind of overwhelms you. Now it's all out, it's coming, that oil is coming all out of the earth, and now you have to spend money to clean it up. And these people that want to clean it up, that they only want to pay some money, or they only want to pay like half of it, or they want the other government to pay the other half, So that's what I'm kind of thinking, is that, well, I guess that they got what they wanted oil, and now they got too much of it. So that was a major thing that I wanted to talk about, because it was going on for such long, and we had all our other shows. We had very busy shows, and we always had little to talk about what's going on out there and beyond, over here, So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit, but today it's going to be smooth. Today's going to be quiet and stuff. So I was going to put on some video. I was going to have Jim put on some video of Winona La Duke, and I butchered their name, but I mean, I can't say I'm human, but I was going to have Jim put on some of her talking. I love the way she talks, so we're going to do that right now. So Jim, whenever you're ready, you can cut to that, and we will be back here in a moment.
So let me talk about a little where we are here, and I'm not going to go into it too much. I'm going to see how my little PowerPoint does here. I don't think you guys need a long lecture on climate change. Are you guys good? Do you realize we already raised the temperature 1 degree? We're on our way to 2. This is not a good thing. This is Kivalina. Up in Alaska, it has fallen into the ocean. This village sued 14 oil companies and 14 power companies, 7 oil companies, and a coal company, because they're falling in the ocean. And there's a whole bunch of native communities up there on the North Shore. They say $400 million to relocate this one. And there's about 180 villages you're looking at that have got similar impacts. I don't know what the price tag is for climate change. I don't know who's in charge of that accounting. They're saying by 2020 it's going to be 20% of world GDP is what it's going to cost us, between the health impacts, right? The disaster-related impacts. And then what is the quantifiable, how do you quantify the loss of a homeland? Tuvalu, some of these islands in the Pacific, going under. Like, what's the price tag on that one? These are called the death maps, is what these are called. This is the costs, some of the impacts. But over here on the your right, this is called these are morbidity rates associated with climate change. And a lot of those have to do with poverty. The Great Plains has a lot to do with the fact that 30% of the people live in trailers. And a lot of them live remotely. You know your reservations, up at the point in northern Minnesota that's right over by over by Grand Portage Reservation. You got kind of a combination of, looks like Cheyenne River is what you're looking at in South Dakota, and you got Standing Rock in North Dakota is what you're looking at. You know, these communities that are impacted, they are native communities, but they're just communities that are poor and they don't have phones, and they're remotely located, and they don't have good heating systems, they don't have backup plan B. That's why you got a morbidity rate that looks like that. You got the second issue that intersects with this that I don't want to bum you all out about. I bummed out my son just hit 19, but I had to break it to him before he could drive that I'd consumed half the world's known oil resources. So I said, I don't know what the point is. But, you know, that's what's known. There's oil out there, you know. That's 20,000 feet below the icebergs up in Alaska. Go ahead. You know, I mean, Conoco and these other companies are really proud of their new breakthroughs. Offshore oil, you know, there's some down in the bottom of the sea, you know, the crack in the bottom of the sea in China probably, right? There's, you know, oil reserves that might not actually want to give us the oil. And it turns out you can only invade so many countries. You got a very expensive war right now. And you can't maintain that level of intervention to get oil. And then, of course, there is the oil in the tar sands in Alberta, which is the next great plan, which is a really bad one. And in that in itself, it takes, you know, you're mining an area basically the size of, that's what it looks like, you're mining an area basically the size of Florida by the time they're done. And squeezing sand into oil, in the process devastating an entire ecosystem, using way too much water and putting a whole bunch of arsenic, mercury, and other chemicals into the environment. That would never pass an environmental impact statement anywhere. But Alberta doesn't have environmental laws really that protect anything. And all those pipelines are coming here. Alberta is not producing oil for Alberta. It's producing for the largest fossil fuels and energy economy in the world, being ours, right? So there is oil, the price tag's pretty high. Oh, this is the other answer that's proposing for climate change, which is the reboot. I think, what is it, a $56 billion in loan guarantees that we're looking at right now? The new proposal for the nuclear industry reboot. Have you guys been watching this? You know, it was a bad idea for 30 years. A lot of you, I don't know, some of you were probably involved. Remember the WHOOPS? That was a great acronym, wasn't it? Washington Public Power Supply, right? WHOOPS. I always like those acronyms. For the nuclear power plants out here. A lot of us were involved in the last round of fighting the nuclear power plants because it was a really bad way to boil water. You know, a lot of radiation, contamination. If nuclear power is the answer to climate change, I want to know what the question was. You know, was the question, do you want to have more radiation impact? You want to make sure there's plenty of DU available for the US military? You know, do you want to make sure that you got to really maintain the same concentration of power in your utility industry? Do you want to have a really huge set of cost overruns that are going to be paid for by taxpayers? Do you want to create an industry that you don't have a solution on what to do with the waste? You know, that's why for 30 years we haven't been putting in new nuclear power plants. And because people like myself and probably a lot of you put our bodies on the line, you know, and fought. For our native communities, it is a huge impact because they're just trying to open up, I think they did in December, they opened up a uranium mine on the north side of the Grand Canyon, right? Called the Red Butte mine. And I'm thinking one place, you know, at one point I read this Onion, you know the Onion? One time I read this article in the Onion and I thought it was true, which is by mistake, but was that they wanted to mine coal in the backside of Mount Rushmore. It sounded plausible at the time, but mining uranium at the Grand Canyon is somewhat similar to that. I'm opposed to uranium mining, but it seems like that is rather a national icon, aside from being the mother canyon. The third issue that I wanted to address just briefly is that of food security. Food security is very heavily tied to the issues of climate change and the issues of peak oil. This is just a little chart, how far your food travels. Average meal travels 1,546 miles from producer to table. Now here in the Northwest, you have a shorter distance. Those kiwis that are coming in from New Zealand, you know, and all that fruit coming in from Chile is coming pretty far. In any case, that's the reality of the situation we have. The second element of that is that industrialized agriculture contributes, it's estimated, at least 25% of CO2 emissions through both deforestation and the transport of food, and the fact that what you're not, you no longer are adding carbon to your topsoil. In fact, you're removing it. You're mining your topsoil in this country. The third element of this is that it is in fact oil dependent. You know, the reality is that we're in this place where after the Green Revolution, we're reaching saturation in terms of the amount of chemicals and the return you're going to get per chemical on your food system. That is to say that you can only put so much on, and both the root systems are incapable of absorbing the amount of chemicals we're putting on, and so that is why we have dead zones at the Gulf of Mexico, right? The second thing is that at a certain point, your returns aren't as good. And so they call it the saturation point with petroleum-based additives in your agricultural system. And the reality is that at this point, we're probably putting between 10 and 15 calories of energy in to produce 1 calorie of food, which is a really grossly inefficient way to produce your food. Add to that the other elements of the food security crisis that we are facing, aside from peak oil and climate change. Add in there the concentration of ownership of seeds and food in this country, whether it is the patenting of seeds by Monsanto and DuPont, or the increasing concentration for many years of the agricultural industry in this country. And then the additional ownership of genetic material by the food industry, and the shrinking of the diversity with the latest proposals. They are not that new, but the proposals over the last decade for the genetic engineering of the world food chain. Any sense of looking at history would teach you that what you want is diversity, not a monocrop. Your shot at resilience is based on that. It is not based on concentration of ownership and concentration of diversity. So this is what you do if you are us. This is how you fight climate change. Is you do your damnedest to fight them. There's 2 power plants that this last year in 2009. Well, one of them at least we defeated. Number 2 is pretty close. We aren't going to claim credit for it yet. But the first one is, if you want to deal with climate change, you got to deal with coal. You can't just pretend, and you can't talk about it. You got to fight coal plants, because every time you put up more wind turbines in this country, it's fantastic. But you put up some wind turbines and they put up one more coal plant, you still got a problem, right? There's no way around it. Coal is dirty. Coal's got to be over. So this shot on the top left and the top right there is a coal-fired power plant that we just defeated in South Dakota. It's called Big Stone 2. And it's about a 10-year battle, at least a 10-year battle. And I'm just saying that to you, some of you are young, well, some of you are my age and some of you are not, but it takes a while to beat these things. A lot of people want something to be fixed overnight. It does not get fixed overnight. It does not get fixed in one grant year. If you're fighting it and you're working in a nonprofit organization, it takes a long time to defeat these facilities. And you got to pray hard and you got to work hard, But Big Stone 2 is started out as a 1,000 megawatt coal-fired power plant to the west of our reservation. And It was using lignite coal from North Dakota, which is just above burning dirt. You know, we already have huge problems in our region with mercury contamination of our lakes. And besides that, it was inefficient because, as you likely know, one of the best wind regimes in the country is in North and South Dakota. So we just thought it was a dumb idea. You know, so we started battling them. A lot of groups battled them. And we end up, there's a town just south of my reservation called Fergus Falls. And it's kind of a little redneck town, let's just be honest. And in that town, they have, is the headquarters of Otter Tail Power Company, which is the utility that was proposing this coal plant. And, you know, they had, it's an investor-owned utility, but a lot of the investors are local. And it was kind of hometown. It's, I don't know the equivalent out here in the Northwest, but let's just say they control that town. And so we start go down there. And actually some students from a college came up, Fergus Falls Community College, and they came up to see me, and they asked if I would, they had a social justice class, and asked if I would teach them, you know, like a session. I said, how about this? How about you help me organize a forum in Fergus Falls on this Big Stone 2 power plant? You know, which I thought would be a good lesson. So I taught them how to write a press release, you know. I taught them how to do a little bit of corporate research. I taught them how to do some outreach, go to the churches. Taught him how to put on an event, you know, and that professor almost got fired for that. You know, I was thinking, well, what is freedom of speech, you know? We were trying to organize a debate between the power company and the Native people, because they had never informed the Native people, the Sisseton, Wahpeton, Dakota Nation, whose water they were using and who was directly downwind. They had never once talked to them. And Sisseton, Dakota wanted to come to their town. You know, wanted to come right to the hometown of Otter Tail Power and say, we would like to say no, you know. And so we had this event. It was a very controversial event. But you see, I'm actually a pretty nice person. You know, I didn't, it was, but the power company, we did have the event in the end, but it wasn't as we had projected because the power company would not show. And in fact, the only way they would have showed is if they had the moderator instead of the school. And I said, that's not fair. I said, the school gets to be, you understand what I'm saying? Is that you don't get to be the team that gets to control the terrain. The school gets to be the, you know, a debate. Gets to be like that, you know? So then they didn't come. But so then later on, we had a couple other events there, and then they had their utility had a meeting there. And in the meantime, what happened is that the power company lost its contracts. Because Minnesota, like the Northwest, has renewable energy portfolios, and you can't fill your renewable energy portfolio with coal. And so the original contract was for, the original investors were financing a 1,000 megawatt power plant. It ended up being 500 megawatts. So they were losing their investors, right? And they're cutting it back. It's getting smaller and smaller, and they're out there ready to go to the mat. And so we go down there to the stockholders meeting in Fergus Falls. Now I just have to tell you, so we say we're going to go to the stockholders meeting, and Otter Tail Power issues this press release, and there's in the Fergus Falls paper, there's that dissidents and protesters are going to come to the stockholders meeting, you know, and so they have all these cops, you know, and all these security show up, and it's at the Holiday Inn in Fergus Falls, right? You know, and we go down there, and I just want to point out to you, this is who the protesters were, right? So there's this lady from the Sierra Club, Seisha. I think she actually moved out here, and she's fighting coal plants out here. She works for Sierra Club. And then right next to her is Peggy, I think her last name's Peterson from Sisseton, Wahpeton. That little short guy in the middle, that's my son. He's on his field trip from school. He spends a lot of time going on road trips with his mom from school. And he has little, his name's, what?
He's pretty scary.
Yeah, he's scary, yeah. He's scary. His name is Gway Conamut. It means when the wind shifts. That's Gway. And so he's got this sign that says First Nations people don't want to be poisoned or something like that, right? And then next to him is me. See, there's me. And then next to him is this guy dressed as a giant otter, you know? So I just want to point out that, you know, we were really daunting resistance, you know? So after that, the giant otter and I went and met with the utility. And we explained to them that, You know, they're explaining to us they're really proud that they have this plan, and they have a 12-year-old plan. I said, that's your problem. You got a 12-year-old plan. That was before anybody knew anything about climate change. You know, the price of carbon is high. You're not going to be able to sell your power, you know, on the market. And you're not dealing with any mitigation, and before then you never informed the native community, and you've got their water rights, you know. So about a month or two later, the rest of the investors fall out. And that's how that power plant ended up, you know. There's a lot of people worked on that, you know. And I just want to say, that's what if you want to deal with climate change, you can't just, you can't stick your head in the sand. You got to oppose these bad ideas, you know. And then the second one here is this other one we're working on in the Southwest. This is called Desert Rock. They just got an adverse ruling by the EPA because, I mean, it's a 1,200, I believe, a 1,200 megawatt coal-fired power plant on the Navajo Reservation. It's clean coal is what they say, but there's no such thing as clean coal. That's an oxymoron, because you have to mine it, and that's not clean. You know, and in this case, you have to pump the water a mile below the surface. So I was wondering about the energy equation of pumping water from that deep up to a coal plant. In the meantime, all the Navajo households around there have to haul their water in 55-gallon drums. So to me, the irony that a coal plant gets water pumping facilities paid for, right? In the meantime, Navajo grandmas, or just community, has to haul their own darn water. That just seems incredibly unjust. So that's what we're trying to do is, you know, we fight these things and these guys. And then this is our alternative. This is for Desert Rock, but in this suggestion, we're proposing in the Southwest, there was a recent closure of a coal-fired power plant called the Mojave Generating Station in 2005. This one is also being proposed, and then finally, our third, we have a similar proposal for our Big Stone area, which is to say that the jobs that are displaced and the income and the electricity that is displaced can best be served by moving into a renewable economy. And so this is called the Just Transition Strategy, and this was forwarded by Dene Citizens for Protecting the Environment. Then this is the issue that you have to deal with, is that not only do you have to fight the bad proposals, but in addition to that, you have to fight the fact that this is the single most inefficient energy economy in the world. I hope that you're all aware of this, right? They say that the amount of power that we waste is the equivalent to the amount of power used by the country of Japan. And that's just out of our facilities in themselves, our coal and our present power facilities, because many of them are just incredibly inefficient. But between point of origin and point of consumption in general, if you look at this chart, you're losing about 2/3 at least, half to 2/3 of the power. And that is because the economy of scale, which is to say big is not always best. Local can be more efficient. And so I say that to you because in rethinking where we are going, those are going to be essential parts of the strategy. So let me just talk a little bit about where it is that we think it is worth considering going. First of all, you know, I kind of gave you a technical lecture on energy and food a little bit. But in the bigger picture, the question I have to ask is that these are symptoms of a larger set of problems. And those problems have to do with how we view, in part, in my belief, or in the belief I think of a lot of other people, how we view our place in the world and how we view our entitlement to the world. And the fact that we could create a society which is so wasteful in itself says something about how we view what we are righteously due. So let me ask you to consider rethinking our position. That's what I would ask. And I told you a little bit about, you know, the idea of living in a society that is a little bit post-empire. Let me talk about what that looks like in terms of theory, and then I'm going to talk about what it looks like in terms of practice. Let us consider rethinking a paradigm. If we agree, or at least we agree to consider that perhaps the construct of empire is unsustainable, is it possible to rethink a society from that basis? I spent a lot of time in school. you know? And I know that, in general, indigenous thinking is not viewed as on par with thinking that comes from Western Europe. I'm onto this, you know? It's illustrated perhaps best by the fact when I was an undergraduate at Harvard, if you wanted to study art from Europe, you went to fine arts. If you wanted to study art from Native America, you went to anthropology, right? So what does that say? It says some people's art is valued, some people's art is looked at as an object, right? And across the board, you will find that in general, indigenous thinking is viewed as folkloric. It's viewed as something which one brings out in your multicultural days to kind of flavor, in general, a Eurocentric education without being overly judgmental. But I spent a lot of time in school. And so in that, one of the challenges I think we face is that we are at a certain place in time. You know, we are in this new millennium. And I am someone that believes that given the circumstances we are facing, if you dig yourself into a hole, at some point you might want to quit digging.
And we are back. So that video was very interesting to me because, you know, a lot of things that, you know, you don't hear about that stuff on the news, or you don't hear about it, you know, you don't see it much on TV. So that's why we want our viewers to know what's going on in Indian country or anywhere, you know. So that's why, you know, it's not really a negative thing that we want to put on, but it's something that we need to inform the viewers of what's going on, you know. And so I was going to talk a little bit about the powwows that are going on this month and next month. That's this July 28th. I guess it's going to be on a Wednesday, so it's going to be it's Simnasio 8th Annual Hot Summer Night Powwow. It's at the Simnasio Longhouse. So it's going to be potluck and 49 drum contest and bring your chairs. So I guess they didn't get chairs for the powwow, so they need you to bring your chairs. And also the one that we always love to go to, this Let's Powwow up in by Lincoln City, and it's at the Memorial Grounds, Siletz, Oregon. But that's grand entry will be at 7 o'clock. The MC is going to be Nick Sixkiller and Carlos Calica. So they're going to have just back and forth MCs like they always do. Arena director Tony Whitehead. I seen him at Grand Ron. I believe that was him, but but he's a really good guy. And after that Celeste Powell is going to be August 13th. That should be starting on a Friday, August 13th to August 15th. So it's going to be a 3-day powwow. We usually like to go Saturday because Saturday is a lot more people, stuff happening. But Friday is kind of mellow, you know, from 7 to 11 o'clock or so. So if you're going to come on any other day, if you want to come to 3 days, that's fine. But any other day you want to come on, it'd be a good day to come on Saturday. So, and then after that, it's going to be our Grand Ron, their contest powwow. They just had their Veterans powwow last weekend. We were there, but their contests, you know, money contest powwow, it's going to be Friday, August 20th to 22nd. I'm guessing grand entry will be at 7 o'clock on Friday, just as every other powwow goes, the time on there. Then we got our Klamath Restoration powwow. That's going to be August 27th to the 29th. That'll be right after. So these three powwows are going to be one after another, and some people like that. But it's going to be at the Chiloquin High School in Chiloquin, Oregon. So if you I haven't been there yet, but I know I've been to that high school, and it should be in the campgrounds up there. But then another powwow, it's going to be the Muckleshoot Sobriety Powwow. We were just at their other one just a couple weekends ago. That was a pretty good one. This one's going to be on Friday, July 23rd, so it's coming up pretty quick. July 23rd to the 25th at their Muckleshoot Powwow grounds in Auburn, Washington. And I was just going to talk about real quick here, just some of these powwows that we go to. You know, I like to go, I mean, I like to go to powwows. You know, powwows are fun and stuff, and I was never danced at the contest powwows, you know, because, you know, all the politics and stuff, but, you know, I just go there to check it out and have a good time, you know. But a lot of times, like, we went to Veterans Powwow this last weekend at Grand Ron, and, you know, they always, like, they have water for the drummers and dancers and whoever, you know. And that's what I kind of like, is when I go to a powwow and they feed you, or they have a feed for the community, you know, because you can't really go a powwow and spend all day and survive on fry bread and, you know, fry bread tacos and stuff like that. It's not really good for you. But I'm always glad that these little powwows, they have a feed, or they feed you, you know. So I always like that, you know. But the thing that, you know, hopefully everybody get to enjoy to come to these powwows this summer. It's been a nice day today. It's been sunny and stuff. So, but I think we're gonna go into some John Trudell. John Trudell is I think he said 2001. So this is an old tape of him, and I hope you guys enjoy. And I'll be back for the last hour to say my goodbyes or see you later. So, all right, whenever you're ready, Jim.
I spend a great deal of time kind of just wondering, because sometimes, you know, I feel like I'm in a reality. See, to me, it's a technologic perceptual reality that we're in. And the technologic perceptual reality has created like an illusion of what reality really is all about, and what true value, what reality is really all about. But the illusion, see, and we've been programmed into the illusion, see, to me. And it's a way of separating us from the reality of power. But anyway, we're in a technologic perceptual reality, right? And this technologic perceptual reality, to me, it's like the human beings no longer remember that they're human beings. I mean, because they can say the word doesn't mean they know what it means or understands what it means. See, so in a way, it's like we're in a reality where nobody really knows who they are anymore. They don't really understand the language that they're speaking. You know, they have no memory of an ancestral past, so they have no memory of beginning. They have no beginning memory. You know, and they basically feel powerless to deal with the realities that this technologic perceptual reality imposes upon them. And it's like, and this whole thing that happens, all right, it to me is done deliberately, is deliberately done. It's deliberately done to us as a part of a civilizing process. I think we're being, all right, let's go back to who we are, because I think it's important that we understand who we are. We are human beings. Human being. Human, the visible, being, the invisible, visible. Human, the DNA of the human, the bone, flesh, and blood of the human is literally it's made up of the metals, minerals, and liquids of the earth. So we are literally shapes of the earth. We are just earth forms. That's the human. That's the reality. That's the human reality. We are earth forms, and all things of the earth have the same DNA, the same. You know, the flesh, bone, flesh, and blood is different shape, different form, but it's all the same. We all come from this reality of earth. So the earth truly is our mother, truly. Now, the invisible, visible, the being part, and we all know we have being because we know. You know, so we know we have it. But being comes from our relationship to the sun and the sky and the universe, the being. You know, the moon, just the planets, everything that's in the universe, our being, the being part, that spirit part of us is connected to that relationship to reality. The sun literally is our father, like the mother literally is our mother, because the rays of light that come from the sun, this is the sperm that gives life to the womb that earth represents. See, so our connection to reality and the reality of power is through having an understanding about our relationship to who we really are. Being able to recognize ourselves. But we don't recognize ourselves. See, and I'm saying, you know, to me, it's like, see, it was deliberate. It's a deliberate thing. It's not an accident. It's a deliberate thing. So let's go back to our relationship to reality with the earth as the mother. The bone, flesh, and blood of the earth that's called uranium, the bone, flesh, and blood that is called uranium, you can take that uranium with the technologic reality and put it through a mining process and convert the being part of that DNA, that bone, flesh, and blood, into a form of energy. You can do it with fossils. Take the fossils out, put them through the mining process, convert the being part of that into a form of energy. Well, to make civilization run, all right, the being part of human is being mined through the human. And this all has to do with perceptual reality. So as human beings, we live with a natural reality encoded in the DNA through genetic memory, but we also live with an imposed illusion of reality. Like dividing in things. We understand that if you take the uranium and you put it through this mining process, as a result of this, there's toxic waste and poison. We understand that. You know, fossils, we understand that. There's toxic waste, there's toxic and poison as a result of this. Well, mining the being part of human also leaves toxic and poison. See, every fear, doubt, and insecurity that we have, all right, this is the toxic and the poison that is left over from the mining process. This is the pollution of our consciousness, all right? This is the pollution of our relationship to the reality of self. See, so there's a result to all this, because all things remain consistent. But as human beings, so anyway, as human beings, we have encoded it's encoded in the DNA. It's like a genetic memory. And encoded in the DNA of every individual human being, and therefore in a collective manner also, all right, is the experience of our individual lineage from our very beginning. It's just there. It's just there. And within that there is a genetic memory. But we have been programmed in such a way that we can't access. See, the more civilized we become, the less our ability to access this information, because it's almost like knowledge. It's inherent knowledge that comes from an ancestral relationship to reality. But we get separated from that knowledge. You know, because a part of what civilizing does, the way that it works, the technologic civilizing process, the way that it works, is it erases the memories of the civilized. See, in the memories of the civilized, they forget that they had ancestors. See, they go back maybe a couple, 2 or 3 generations, remember that, you know. And the memory that they have is, well, they were a worker here, or they were a farmer, or they were struggling and starving. But they have no memory of an ancestry in an evolutionary sense that introduced some kind of a perception of reality that was clear and balanced. See, that memory's been erased. But within our genetic memory, what's through instinct, intuition, whatever, within our genetic memory, see, we have a common collective memory. And that common collective memory is that we are all the descendants of tribes. Each and every human being comes from a tribe. Each and every human being is the descendant of a tribe. And within that reality, back in our ancestral memory, see, we knew that we were the children of the earth. We knew that. And we knew that we were borrowing the present from the past, and we were borrowing it from the future also. So we knew we didn't own it. We knew that whatever was going on here, we were just kind of, our purpose was to keep balance. Keep human balance so that it doesn't distort the rest of the natural world. So that was our purpose, was to keep in balance the human participation, because the human participation in its own way is very deadly to the natural world. It brings its own disease. It's a diseased perceptual reality. Then the earth gets attacked. It's like cancer eating something. You know, so we understood in our genetic tribal ancestry that our purpose in life was to keep the balance. To keep the balance. It wasn't about winning and losing. It was about keeping the balance. And because we understood we were borrowing from the past and we were borrowing from the future, because we understood that all things had spirit, We were a part of a spiritual perceptual reality. And the way that manifested in the behavior of the tribe, of the tribal ancestor, the way that manifested was they knew that life was about responsibility. The human being and the participation of the human being in this reality is about responsibility. See, they understood this, so they knew who they were, they knew what they were saying, they knew they were whole. We have this in common. We are all the descendants of this type of an ancestry. Each and every one of us is the descendant of that perceptual reality. But in the evolution, because we're a part of an evolutionary reality, so, and in the evolution, our role is to keep balance.
All right, we are back. That was more of John Trudell. That was in 2001, so that was a long time ago. But yeah, I was going to talk a little bit about this idea, or this thing that Dennis Banks, he wanted to do another longest walk, but he wanted to do it for diabetes. And this is very interesting to me because, I mean, having a longest walk for diabetes, or any kind of a walk for diabetes, would get a lot of people together and a lot of people to communicate with each other, and have like from here in Portland, we're at in Portland right now, but to have something like that would kind of bring a lot of people together, and to kind of get a relationship with everybody, kind of a connection, so we all know where everybody's at or what we're doing and stuff. Because there's a lot of chapters, there's a lot of people that are doing things, but either we don't hear about them, or either they come on the show and talk about what they're doing. And that's what we like to do on Native Nations, is to have people that are putting together these groups to come on the show and talk about what they're doing as a positive thing for the Native communities, because that's what we need to do as Native people. We need to have a structure, or have an education, so we can do all these things and help our people. That's like on our last show, we talked about how, like, the reservations, like how there's a high suicide rate on the reservations. Well, I mean, we got to put our brains together and figure out how we can solve that problem. And same thing with the coal mining. The coal mining thing, that's like, of course you got to have education to have a good vocabulary, and to talk about, you got to talk about what you know about the coal mining, and that's why we have these people, these great people, Indian people, that come on we videotape it and we show it to you guys, because we want to educate everybody. We want to, even myself, educate what's going on in Indian country, because these things can be happening, without us knowing. And then they say, oh, well, they put a coal mining in Doda Desert Rock. It's like, how did they do that? We didn't even know about it. And so I'm guessing this is a good time to show it to everybody. And there could be 20, 30, 40 viewers of you watching right now, or we're going to put this on YouTube so you can be able to watch it again, but, kind of educating the people, and so, but here at Native Nations, today, I was by myself, but, we need we need help here at the, Native Nations, at the studio here at Metro East. They got classes and stuff. I took some of the classes, camera classes and stuff, so I can be certified to be a cameraman, or to touch things, equipment, and it brings you certified. You get certified in these things. So, and they're free. You can be able to give these classes and they're very inexpensive with trying to rent out equipment, or they have little fees. But the classes, you can take as many classes as you need to, and to run the board, like what people are doing right now in the back. They're running the board and switching cameras and stuff like that. And it's very fun. If when Dave never needs me, I'm usually behind the camera or in the studio room, are doing something, So a lot of times we go back and forth. Like if Dave needs me on the show, and he doesn't want to be on the show for today or for one show, he'll be on the camera or he'll be in the studio doing something, and it's very fun. It's very fun to do something. And if you need to contact anybody or if you need any feedback from anybody, we have right here, Native Nations contact. So I don't know those things they do on TV where they hold it like this, but Native Nations at rocketmail.com, and you can just email and ask us about if you want to be on the show or if you have something interesting that you would like to talk about on the show. Or we're always looking forward to having guests on the show, especially Native or non-Native, or something just to educate the community or Portland Metro. And so we mostly, I've been doing this for a while, doing the show and stuff, and I don't talk very much. Or people, they always say, why don't you smile? Like, they're like, why don't you smile? I said, I don't know. I don't know, but I never really smiled a lot in school, or they say smile, and they take a picture and they say smile. I never really smiled, but I'm guessing, I just like to sit back and, when Dave and they have guests on the show, I just mostly sit in the corner, and then when I have a question, I just wait for the right moment and, say something. And it's right at the last moment too, right at the last of the show. So sometimes I wish we had, 2 hours on the show, or, when we have a lot of guests, or we have a 2-part guests, and a lot of times we run out of time and we forget to talk about volunteering work, or talk about what's going on, or what the weather or the powwows or anything, So I'm mostly just gonna, yeah. So, all right. Well, I'll just have Jim probably play out some powwow footage, but I just like to say, have a good day, and we'll see you again next month in August for our next show, and hopefully Dave will be back from his vacation. I don't know if he's in Hawaii or if he's in somewhere, but he's enjoying his vacation, so that's why I'm here today. But our next show, hopefully Dave will be here and we can have more to discuss, or have a guest, and we'll try to get more guests for the next show. So we'll go out with powwow footage, and hopefully it'll be enough to last till the show's over. So, but whenever you're ready, Jim, you can put the powwow footage if you want. And bye-bye.
Everybody lose their tongue. Found it over here by the food can. Our president podium. Awesome mountains and outbound. Look up here, folks, if you lost your son or grandson, wearing a blue sweatshirt.